Welcome to Chess with Link. We're taking a look at how the queen moves on the chessboard using the training tools over here on lichess.org. A queen moves kind of like the combination of a rook and a bishop. A queen moves in straight lines as far as she wants to go, up and down the board or left and right. So to grab this first star, I can move my queen up here to e5. All right. That moves like a rook. But what about bishops? Well, bishops move diagonally. And here we can see that the queen could move diagonally from e5 all the way up to b8, just like a dark bishop could move. Of course, it's worth remembering that a queen is not trapped on a single color, unlike a bishop. Being able to move both diagonally and horizontally and vertically means that the queen sometimes has to think in multiple dimensions at once. For example, here we have a star over there on a light-colored square on h3. And we have 3 stars on dark squares at f8, f2, and way over on a3. How are we going to get all of these with maximum efficiency? Well, if we think like a dark bishop first, the queen can go diagonally to f2. Once she's sitting on f2, she's on a dark square still. And she's now in the F file, which means that we could move the queen all the way up to f8 and capture that second star. Now, sitting up here at f8, we probably notice that the queen has moved diagonally like a bishop, vertically like a rook, and can still move like a dark bishop. There's no restriction on when she moves horizontally, when she moves vertically, or when she moves diagonally. So we can come diagonally down to a3 and capture our next star. And at this point, we go back to thinking like a rook. We can go all the way from the A file to the H file in a single move to capture the last star. So by combining the moves of bishops and rooks, by moving diagonally, vertically, and horizontally, switching between different colored squares and different files and different ranks, the queen can clear the board with perfect efficiency. What do we have here? Once again, the majority of our targets are on dark squares. But we do have a single star sitting here on a light square. And our queen is starting off on a light square. But remember, unlike a bishop, the queen is not stuck on light or dark squares. We can move our queen diagonally from c4 to f1, capturing our first star. But we're not trapped on light squares, because now we could move our queen vertically all the way up to f8. We're building these pattern recognition skills, building our practice of moving the queen in all of the available dimensions. So where do we go next? We have 2 different targets. The queen could hit the d6 star or the h6 star. Now we have to be thinking ahead. If we go to d6, we could then get the g3 and a3 stars, but the h6 star is going to be sitting over there all on its lonesome. There's no clean diagonal path between a3 and h6, or between g3 and h6. I can't even draw a line there. This is a clue. Getting our sequencing right often matters in chess. And in this puzzle, if we go with the queen from f8 to h6 first, getting that isolated star, then we're free to slide horizontally over to the D file, still staying in the 6th rank. And at this point, we can capture A3 or G3, because they are both threatened from D6 by diagonal moves from the queen. And let's say we go to G3 first. Both of those targets are in the 3rd rank. And queens are very powerful at capturing or threatening pieces when they're in the same diagonal, the same file, or the same rank. So we'll go grab that last star and head on to a puzzle that is probably a little bit of a conundrum. We've got 5 stars on light squares. We've got 2 stars on dark squares, but we're letting go of light and dark as far as the queen goes, because we know we can switch her between colors of squares. All right, so what are we thinking about now? Ranks and files and linked diagonals. We have got 2 stars in the H file. We have 2 stars in the G file. And then the other 3 stars are off there on their own. Let's think about ranks, though. We have 2 stars in the 2nd rank. We have 2 stars in the 5th rank. And as we look at these connections between the stars, we can realize that we kind of have a choice here. Are we going for capturing stars that have the most number of connections? Or are we going for capturing stars that provide us a single path forward? Notice that D3 is isolated. Our star right here is completely on its own. That means that if we're going to solve this puzzle at maximum efficiency, we've got to take out that D3 star with a diagonal attack. The only way that we can make sure that with every move we're taking a piece is to do D3 last. So let's think our way backwards through this. D3 we have to take from B5. All right, so if B5 is the second to last target, does that share a diagonal, a rank, or a file with another star? Sure does. Over there at H5. So if D3 is our last target, and B5 is our second to last target, and we stay in the 5th rank and go over to H5, well, from H5, our path forward is pretty clear. We've got to go to H2, and then we have to decide which one would we take next. Oh, but wait, we're thinking backwards. So we have to think of how to get to there. And from where the queen is, the shortest path for her to get to all three of the stars that we have not touched yet must include A2 over here. And there's no connection between A2 and G1. A2 is only connected to G8. It's a logic puzzle. It's a visual pattern recognition puzzle. We know that we end with the star on D3, and we know that before we get there, we're going to be capturing the star on H2. And we can't get that A2 star if we begin by going to G8, because that will leave G1 isolated and make us waste a turn or two. So let's begin by capturing the G1 star, moving our queen vertically. Then we'll take her back up the file to G8. Because sometimes in chess, we do have to zip from one side of the board to the other side of the board. There's some really fun advanced tactics that can wipe your opponent's army off the board if you can find the appropriate time to do this. So then we'll take our queen down to A2, and from here the path becomes clear because we've already mapped it out by working in reverse. We go to H2, we go to H5, we go to B5, we finish the puzzle at D3. By working in reverse, and by making sure that we go up and down a file, as well as just moving to a square and then moving in a totally different direction. Now we're unlocking the true power of the queen. All right, we're almost done. And now, what a tangled web we have. We have 3 stars in the 6th rank. We have 2 stars in the F file, 2 stars in the G file, 2 in the H file, and let's not forget that in the 1st rank, we have 2 stars as well. So which one is the most isolated? Which one might we need to take first before we go on a grand tour? Let's look at diagonals now. Because while we've thought about our ranks and our files, we haven't addressed the diagonals yet. And right here, in the middle of our puzzle, H4 and F2 are connected diagonally. So how could we get rid of D1, and would that simplify the whole board for us? Let's take D1 first. With D1 captured, we have nowhere left to capture except H1. From here, our path is clear. 1 star to capture at H4. And then we have to decide, which diagonal attack do we go for? Because H4 is also connected to F6, as well as the F2 connection. Which one could we take without having to go backwards for no purpose. If we take f6, we're going to have to come down to f2 and then go back up and then move over. But if we go to f2, like we discussed earlier, I hope you can see those last 4 moves from this position. Think through it carefully. Remember that the queen moves both vertically and horizontally. And do your best to capture every one of those stars in only 4 turns. If you have any questions about using your queen effectively, and you happen to be in one of my OutSchool classes, feel free to send a message to me in the classroom. And if you are out there on the internet and generally trying to become a better chess player, please leave a nice comment down below here on YouTube, and I'll do my best to reply to you in a future video.